There's nothing like being in the green room, and this morning, this evening, this afternoon, I get to hang out not with one person. I got Jenny and Craig. You can figure out which one is Jenny and which one is Craig, but that's just they can pick that out. But my question to you is, before I try to read two bios, it's challenging to read one bio. Imagine me reading two bios. You would really be bored. Take a moment, if you would, one of you, and kind of share a little bit about. I'll start with Jenny. A little bit about who are you and what are you up to these days? It's just us having a private conversation here.
So let's see, who am I? I am Jenny Landon, and I have spent the last year convincing this guy, Crag Miller, to join me to really change the way the world thinks about mental health and the way we think about wellness. And specifically today, we want to talk to everyone about what is success and how do we achieve it.
Now, when you say, well, I'll let Craig give his view of the world. Not that your view of the world. We want your view of the world. Your view of the world is very, very important to us. But Craig may have a different view of the world. So, Craig, tell us a little about what you guys are up to.
Yeah, we Jenny and I have recently partnered up. She has an organization called Growing Out of Darkness, a nonprofit, and we had spoken at the same conference about a year and a half ago where we met, and we've spent the last year kind of building that relationship. And most recently, I've taken a position in Jenny's organization as the program director for the first program we're kicking off is All That We Are. And it's her and I speaking together and working together. And like she said, kind of reaching out to communities on a whole and trying to develop and incorporate sustainable changes, something that we can really bring to a community from the mental health world and a place of wellness that can actually be sustained. So that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, that's cool, man. And if you can, Jenny, take a moment and kind of share with us, when folks hear mental health and they hear wellness, kind of share your definition of just those two. I mean, I think wellness, I'm thinking health, and go fitness, and I think mentally, I got to be mentally strong. Can you just kind of share with the audience, when you say mental health, what you mean by that?
Yeah. So, a lot of people actually have this idea that mental health is a negative term. And a lot of people want to change it to mental wellness because there's this kind of taboo to actually say the word mental health. But mental health is no different than saying physical health. And it's actually, rather than people thinking of, most often when they think of mental health, they think of the illnesses that someone faces, or they think of depression, anxiety, bipolar. But actually, it is our psychological, social, and emotional well-being. And so for me, one of my biggest goals is to help people really understand what's involved with our mental health and really trying to teach people how everything is connected and it's integrated. Our mental health with our physical health as well as our spiritual health is all combined and impact one another. And that is when we have all of those things balanced, is when you see wellness. And you see us being able to perform as our best selves.
Perform as our best selves. Take a moment, if you would, and just talk a little bit about why that's more important. I mean, let's just address the elephant in the room, right? These are very serious times. They're very challenging times. Although we smile and we're giggling, my family's been impacted. Folks very close to me, they've been in the hospital. I mean, it's been very serious. So take a moment and talk about why this topic is relevant now, more than probably ever in our lifetime.
Craig, you want to turn?
Oh, yeah, I think, well, what, in terms of wellness?
Yeah, in terms of this whole topic about folks having mental health, mental wellness, especially with what they're going through now.
Yeah, I mean, we all experience difficult times and traumas, and we all know what it's like to hurt, right? And now we have, I think there's a huge opportunity in what we're experiencing right now. I actually said to someone recently, I'm like, if when this is done, if some positive change doesn't come out of this, then we're in some serious trouble, because I don't know what it would actually take for people to kind of really open their eyes and look at each other and understand that we're really We really are in this together, all of us. And that kind of goes back to what Jenny and I do in terms of mental health, and where our platform lies and our stage is on helping people understand that there's this language beyond what we typically use to speak about mental health and wellness and suicide, which we do a lot of work in. Beyond that, it's emotion, it's connection, it's feeling, it's recognizing the fact that no matter what we have gone through, no matter what we experience, where we're from, what kind of life we live today, all of us know what it's like to hurt. All of us know what it's like to feel. We know what it's like to experience a broken heart and feel tired and want to give up. Everybody has that at some level in some way. And I think this virus, this global pandemic, the fact that we're economies are going to be changed for, substantial, right? There's some major things that are coming out of this. So you have economic change, you have health issues, you have policy issues, you have absolutely everything, businesses, small businesses that are collapsing all around us. The fact that this is truly an experience where all of us can really connect and really identify with it and say, we are in this together for real, honestly. This is, to me, one of the greatest opportunities for growth and change and embracing what's well and what's going to make us better than I think we could ever get, with the exception of it being, a whole lot worse. I mean, this is as bad as I think we should ever hope it gets in order to drive positive change. But I think there's huge opportunity in this for that. We just need to recognize it as we move forward and keep that collective whole.
Now, that is so well said. With that being said, we're going to go and kick off. We have Sherry Ford that's on right now. Linda that's watching. Joy, what's up? Frank Johnson. So many folks. We're going to get going. We've got a show, but before we get going, I've got to just ask just one more question, Jenny. I'm just curious what you're saying to folks that you're talking to now that are entrepreneurs out there. One of my good friends had to lay off someone, and internally it just tore him apart. The person had been working for him for about 6 years. They don't have, 45 days of money in the bank to say they could pay the person's salary, and the person been working for him for 6 years. And he had to not let him go, but kind of furlough him, if I could say it like that. So she can go out and find some work during this time as well. And it was mentally draining. And I've had other colleagues that have got to call their mortgage company now. They've got to call contractors because they can't meet some obligations. And it's a lot of pressure. I know it's a loaded question, but what are you saying to folks out there that are just feeling a lot of pressure that's on them due to financial obligations or other things they just have to do? I know it's a loaded question, but I'm just curious, what are some of the things that you're saying to folks these days?
Well, I know Craig has actually been in that position. So Craig works with me out of the kindness of his heart and doesn't take a salary from me. But he has a regular full-time job where he's been the person who's had to lay people off or furlough them. And I think one of the things that I'm going to speak on behalf of Craig, one of the things that's helped him through this has been the people in his life, right? Me being one of them, knowing what he's going through, checking in, and one of the things I said to him today is, I know this is hard. I know this sucks. It sucks for all of us, and we're all going through this. Don't deny the emotions that you're feeling right now, right? Don't try to just bulldoze through them. Go ahead and feel them, feel the hurt, feel the sadness, but don't hold on to it, right? Feel it, learn from it, and grow, and then let it go. And that doesn't mean that everything's going to be fixed, right? But we, as Craig said, we're all in this. The whole world is being impacted by this. And it's going to take all of us coming together and really focusing on what can we do as a community, what can we do as families to pull together and get through this and make sure we're all thriving and having the opportunity to grow in a more healthy and sustainable way.
I love that. That's one of the benefits of those folks watching right now, that we will be talking about success. We will be talking about how you have to take care of yourself first, make sure you're taking care of how you can still help other people. Craig, were you ready to say something?
Yeah, I think along with what she was saying and letting myself feel with what I'm actually feeling and going through is key, right? You push it away as much as you want, but embracing the process and going through it is something that has to be done, I believe. What I think makes it so much easier on top of that is, not that it's easy, but what takes some of the edge off is that really, really recognizing that we truly are in this together. There's no denial here. This isn't, some arbitrary thing that says, we all know what it's like. This is real. So oftentimes in life, I've had a very dark background, attempted suicide, and gone through incredible issues with mental health and depression and things like that. One of the things that drove me so deep was that feeling of true loneliness, feeling like I was alone, that people didn't understand that this is just me, and other people are going about their lives and everything seems easy and they're getting up and living life like normal and everything's a struggle for me, and I felt totally alone. Again, this to me seems like an opportunity, global opportunity, where as hard as it gets at times and as difficult as things have been in this last 6 weeks in my world for the pandemic, it's comforting to know that, no, I'm not alone. Everybody's going through this. People all over the unemployment rate is through the roof, and the fear and uncertainty. There's no answer. We have one common ground right now around the world where we truly don't have any clean answers, and that feeling of feeling lost and the uncertainty, the overwhelming uncertainty of what happens next in life, which is a driver in my world for suicide, right? It's like this uncertainty, this fear. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't even want to face it. I'm so scared to think about it. I'd rather just not face it. Well, now we all really truly are experiencing that. No one has the answer of where this is going to come about. And you back up 3 months ago, if you said to America or Italy, or France, that this is you'll be wearing masks. The government is going to tell you not to leave your house and you won't be able to leave your house. People would have thought there's no way, you're crazy. That's not happening ever. Well, it is all over the world, and we're all going through that. And there's when you can identify the feelings that we all have and that fear that we all have, and really take it in and try to understand that, we really truly are in this together. And I know it's a cliche term, but it's truthful. It is. And that brings up the opportunity for growth and for us to come together and have real change. So in these moments, I think, no, I'm not alone. Yeah, I'm scared to death. And yeah, things could change and I might lose my house and things might happen and the bottom might completely fall out for me. But it is a little bit less painful to think that I'm not the only one, and in fact there's so much of us that it's almost like, what, if things drop for everybody, then it drops for everybody, and we're all at this new standard, right? So that's kind of a little bit more comforting for me personally.
Absolutely. So with that being said, I'm super excited. We're going to go ahead and kick off right now. Anisha's out there from Las Vegas. Dr. Kenneth Thigpen is in the house. Arthur, good to see you, by the way. Thanks for joining. Calvin, it's always a pleasure, my man. We're going to get kicked off. We're in the green room. We're just having a behind-the-scenes conversation, very frank, honest conversation about what's going on in the world. But we also have a solution on the other side, because they're going to share some ideas and share some steps that you can do as you go through this, that you're not alone, but you can go through it with others. We'll be back in just a moment. It's time to get started. The only thing I get to do is count down. So we got to get going in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's showtime. Success is on the way. Promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stay there. And they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the happy entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue focused late night show in the country, where we're on a mission. And our mission is to empower. Our mission is to inspire. And our mission is to provide you You the entrepreneur, you the person with the big dreams, you the person who want to change humanity with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. And I believe you have 3 visions that it takes resources to execute. The first vision I believe you have is a vision for yourself, right? Like, so the clothes that you want to wear, the organic food that you want to buy and, of course, eat and enjoy, even the car that you want to drive. It takes resources to do that. Then others of you have a vision number 2. You have a vision for the ones you love, the kids you want to send to a school of your choice. I'm here, and Mother Dear is still here on this planet, so I'm really blessed. So I'm able to order stuff for her and have it sent right to her house. Can't go in her house, by the way, but I do put stuff right outside the door, by the way, which is really weird. Craig was saying in the green room that we never thought we'd see these times. Right. Never thought I'd hear say, leave it at the door, But it's all good because I want to make sure Mother Dear is safe, but it's tough. It is really tough. And so it takes resources to do that. Some of you write checks for the causes you believe in, or you write checks for loved ones insurance. And then I believe you have a third vision. You have a vision for the people you were called to serve. And whether you're a believer or not, I happen to be a believer, whether you're a believer or not, think about this guy named Noah. He's in the Bible. And think about all the resources that are given to him, right? So he has this vision from God. He's like, I'm ready. I'm going to do this thing. And imagine he shows up. And the minute he shows up, someone says, hey, Noah, we got a problem. There is no hammers. None in the house. No hammers? No hammers. No hammers. Nope. Well, what am I going to do? Noah, we have to report as well. There are no nails. We've searched. There's no nails. No hammers, no nails, no resource. How am I going to do this thing? Noah, one last time, just so you're fully aware of this. There are no people to put the boat together because we have no wood. Good luck, Noah. Now, Noah's sitting there. He's like, oh, my gosh, I don't have resources. And some of you, that's where you are right now in your business. You've got the right experience. You got the right expertise. Now you need the right team to actually pull this together. And that's why Jenny and that's why Craig is here right now to make sure you have the resources that you take care of yourself. You got to be a leader of one before you're a leader of many anyway. All right. So Jenny, Craig, welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show. How are you?
Hey, Shay. Doing great. Thanks for having us.
Well, good. It is an honor and a privilege, a treat and a treasure. We have Jenny coming to us from Minnesota, and we have Craig through the power of these fiber optic lines coming to us from Massachusetts or Boston. I keep saying Boston. He said that's Boston.
Boston's
he's in
good.
Boston. So he's in Boston.
Boston sounds better than Massachusetts, I think.
Okay. He's in Boston. He's probably Boston Celtics fanatic. He's from Boston. He's from Massachusetts. I'm a Washington. It doesn't matter. I'm a Wizards guy. Don't worry about basketball. It's not about football, basketball right now. But in all seriousness, this is a very serious topic at a very serious time because there's someone somewhere right now that is in pain. They're wondering how they're going to pay the rent. They're wondering if they're going to go back to work. They may be wondering how they're going to put food on the table. But more importantly, they're worried about someone else. So take a moment, if you would, Jenny or Craig, and talk about how folks can just relieve some of the pressure or stress they may be causing themselves just by worrying about things they can't control.
Oh, yeah. I think that one of the biggest reasons we experience anxiety and panic is when we start thinking about all the things that are beyond our control. And I've been known to do that. Even in the last few weeks, when I think about the fact that I don't know when I get to leave my house, like that can be overwhelming. And for me, one of the things I've gotten really good at over the last few weeks is really sticking to a routine. So even though I don't leave the house, I still get up at 5 a.m. and I get up, I do Tai Chi first thing. Then I do a meditation. And followed by that, I usually journal after my meditation, and then I work out. And I was talking to someone the other day, and I said, yeah, actually, I'm going to really miss my morning routine when this is all over, because I always did this stuff, but it was like a really fast pace. I'd go in, do a quick meditation, a quick workout, and move on with my day. But now I get to spend like 3 hours doing those things. And I will say one of the things, even before I do my Tai Chi, I, like you, I'm a believer. And even before I start my Tai Chi, one of the things I think that's really helped ground me is that I say a prayer. I say a prayer, and in that prayer, when I'm closing, what I always ask for is that God wrap his arms around me and all of those people that I love, all of those people who are hurting, who are struggling, who are sick, who are dying, that he wrap his arms around all of us and that he allow us to give and receive love, that he allows us to release any negative emotions and energy that we're holding on to, that he allows us to experience hardship without holding on to it. And that has been for me, it's been very therapeutic, and even when I'm reaching out and talking to different friends and can say to them, like, this is what I ask for you every day. Right. And I can say it and genuinely mean it. And, and I don't have to know the person. Like I said, I say to God, anyone who's hurting, anyone who's sad, anyone who's struggling, please do this. And the thing is, I know that God does that even without me asking for it. But I feel like it strengthens my belief and my relationship by letting him know that we are in need of his help. Right. We are strong when we come together and we have each other, but it's his strength and his love flowing through us that really is going to connect us and get us through these difficult times.
Craig, she mentioned experience hardship without holding on to it. Sound a little advanced to me, so I'm curious if you can break that thing down for those folks that are listening right now. I think that's what you said, experience hardship without holding onto it. Again, sounds like an oxymoron. Like, is that possible? But can one of you, or Craig, or you, or Jenny, kind of explain that a little bit?
Yeah, I think what's important to highlight of what Jenny's addressing is not holding on to the parts that don't have any value for us, that don't serve us, right? I look at a lot of things I've been through in my life. My whole platform is built off of suicide prevention from a suicide attempt that I had. Struggles with mental health, hospitalizations when I was younger. I went through significant abuse and things like that. I don't hold on to the parts that hurt me. I hold on to what I learned from it, what I can use to help me grow, and what I can use to benefit me as a person and make me the best that I could be because of the things that I went through. I can't look at any type of hardship and say, oh, I'm a victim. I went through that and that just happened and I have to learn to suffer and deal with it. We talk a lot about language around mental health and how we speak about things. And there's this common phrase, the common word that everyone uses a lot, and it's recovery. So in mental health, you go through trauma and you go through a recovery period. You attempt suicide and you survive, thankfully, and you go through recovery. I look at the definition of recovery, and it implies that something was okay at one point, which I don't believe I was in my introduction to life. And then trauma happens and something breaks and you're broken, and now you have to recover from that. You have to fix it. I refuse to look at anything I've been through as a trauma that hurt me, and I have to find out how to live with it and how to cope with it. I can't mentally let myself be in that frame of mind to move forward. Instead, I have to look at it and say, no, there's value here. There's something to be learned. And if anything, and I'm not suggesting that everything happens for a reason, but if there is any reason behind it, the inarguable to that is that there is an opportunity for us to learn in it. So when we go through hardships and we go through struggles and we actually suffer trauma of any kind, I don't hold on to the parts that hurt me. I hold on to the parts that helped me. And I could use some examples of my particular story. One is fairly heavy, but it's about abuse I went through as a kid, and significant abuse. And I literally, in my process of getting well and understanding, like, how am I going to use this to my advantage? How am I going to make this part of me and help me grow and help me become the person I want to become and live a life that I really want to live? And if I listed out all the things that those experiences of abuse left me with, I could give you a million things that I don't want to keep with me, the self-esteem issues and the trust issues and fear and all the stuff that stuck with me for years and years that I had to fight with. But I could also list out the good things. In the abuse that I went through, I think the biggest thing that I can take from something like that is compassion. I learned what it's like to understand empathy and what it's like to be in someone's shoes, and really hit the bottom and paid attention to being at the bottom and documented it, and it documented everything I felt and what it took me to get out of that place. From my abuse, I learned compassion. And the way we speak about it is that compassion is to see the hurt in the eyes of another, no matter how badly we are hurt ourselves. If I had to experience, if I did experience the abuse that I went through in order to teach me that level of compassion that I can make part of who I am right to my core, then it's no longer dark. It's no longer hardship. It's no longer trauma. It was a difficult lesson, but I learned it. And I made it part of who I am. And I love myself for that. I love that I have compassion. I love that I can look someone in the eyes and understand what they're really going through. So when we talk about, not holding on to hardship, that's what it is. It's understanding what the opportunities are to take from those things, even right now and what we're experiencing, right? And where is the good, but what are the parts that I want to keep for myself? And everything we go through, there's an opportunity to learn and make our own.
Wow, you can hear the passion in his voice as he's speaking there. This is very, very serious conversation, but it's one of those conversations that needs to be had to help so many folks that are listening, that are watching right now. Take us, if you can, Jenny or Craig. I know you picked the topic success. We can't be ourselves. We can't be our best selves by ourselves. Talk about that if you would. And I love your whole phraseology, if I can say it that way. But take a moment and talk about why that particular topic is phrased that way and why that's near and dear to you.
Well, actually, I've got to take a second and thank a dear friend of mine, Dr. Steve Taubman. This past fall, I was actually in San Antonio, and I was giving a talk for Daniel Gomez, the Mari Strong Foundation. It was an event for breast cancer survivors, and I used that line in my talk. That was that we couldn't be our best selves by ourselves. And, when I prepare my talks, I have an idea of what I'm going to say, but I don't fully script them. And Steve Taubman's a good friend of mine, and he and I had been kind of talking over what I was going to share and how I was going to share it. And then after I was done with my talk, and it was the best talk I've ever given, well, I've given one better now, but at that point, it was the best one that I'd ever given. And afterward, I sat down next to Steve, and he said, my favorite quote in this event, sorry, excuse me. My favorite quote from your talk was when you said that we can't be our best selves by ourselves. And I think if he had not pointed it out, I probably would not have even been aware that I said it. And so I want to thank him for raising my attention to that. But, one of the things that has always been important to me was this sense of connection and belonging, because I grew up, just like Crag, I was molested as a young child. I always felt isolated. I always felt alone. The only person for me growing up that I ever felt truly loved me and I felt safe in their presence was my dad. And when I was 20 years old, I lost my dad to suicide. And he taught me that we should always surround ourselves with people who push us past our comfort zone, encourage us during times of self-doubt, and love us even when we feel unlovable. And one of the things that I've realized is that isn't just someone that you've had in your life for 40 years or 20 years. It's not about your best friend. It's about the 5-minute conversations you have that if you allow them to, they can change your life. They can bring out something in you that you didn't even know was there. And it can happen in the parking lot of the grocery store, or it can happen on an airplane. But we have to open our eyes and open our hearts and be willing to let those relationships happen. And whether it turns into something bigger or it simply is just a 5-minute conversation, be willing to recognize it.
Well said. Thanks so much for being authentic. Thanks for sharing a little bit of your backstory. Certainly appreciate that. And I'm curious, for the person that's wondering out there, are there signs that they should be on the lookout for, as you start going through this? Because sometimes you think nobody knows, so you're smiling all the time. So you're going through it day in and day out. Are there any signs that someone should look for inside themselves to kind of know that, I've got to really move to a whole nother space?
Yeah. And I think right now it's even harder because of COVID. Like, a lot of people aren't wearing pants right now. Like I am personally wearing pants right now, but there, and I know it's become this joke, but like yesterday we did a surprise birthday party for a friend of ours. And at one point there was like 50 people on Zoom for this birthday party. And you're kind of wondering like how many people actually have on pants, but,
only you're thinking of that in Axe Party. I'm gonna tell Eric that. Only you are thinking that. Don't worry. Don't ask the question, but only you are thinking that right now.
Okay. Well, at least I admit it, and so, but it's also that, like, I think it's because of COVID-19, because we're not getting out of our house, we're not engaging people face to face. It's really easy to not shower. It's really easy to not get ready for the day. And so that is going to make it even harder. But for me, one of the things that I know is if you go to a traditional suicide prevention presentation, they'll talk about signs that you should pay attention to. And one of them is hygiene. Well, I was a suicide prevention educator, and I also worked as a crisis counselor, both in San Francisco and here in Minnesota. And yet I missed all my own signs and became suicidal after having my first daughter, going through postpartum depression, and didn't realize it. And part of that is because my brain wasn't working, right? So I couldn't identify what was going on. But now I've learned to recognize certain traits in myself. And one of them isn't, did I shower or not shower? It was, did I want to? Right? Because a lot of times I'll still take the shower because I know I've got a TV show I do. So I know I'm going to be on the TV show, or I know I'm connecting with other people in community. So I'll take the shower, I'll put on the makeup, but did I want to? And I think that's really important to pay attention is, are you doing the things that bring you joy? Are you taking pride in the things that make you feel good about who you are? And are you spending time with the people that bring the best out in you? And if you're not saying yes to those questions, then I think it's time for you to look at what needs to change.
What needs to change? For folks that are watching as well, you said what needs to change. What are maybe 1, 2, or 3 ideas that either one of you can give or share that someone could start doing to move in that right direction so things do start to change? And we know it's one step at a time, or one day at a time, or 1 hour at a time, whatever it is. But what are 3 things that you would recommend for someone to kind of get going?
I think for me, what's most critical is change within ourselves, right? After my suicide attempt in my 20s, I looked at, for myself, I took a very hard look at what needs to be different in my life. Why did I want to attempt suicide? Why did I feel so badly about things? And you could get very complex and very complicated, make it very complicated when you look into suicide and the reasons behind it. For me, in my simple mind, the way I have to think about it to understand it is that at its basic core, the reason I think people experience thoughts of suicide or giving up in any realm, is because we want something to change and we feel incapable of changing it. So for me, it was like, okay, something needed to change. I felt incapable of changing it. What was it that needed to change? And I looked at my whole life, like everybody, I defaulted to my past and my experiences and said, I wish it wasn't like that. I wish I wasn't bullied as a kid. I wish I wasn't, going through these experiences at home and all the stuff that I had. And the reality was those things had changed. Life was different. I wasn't that little kid being abused. I wasn't on the schoolyard being bullied. Like, life had changed. But the one thing that hadn't changed through all of that was me. Through all of my life, the thing that stayed consistent was me. I hadn't changed. So if I look at, like, okay, if I needed to change and wanted to change so badly, why hadn't I done it? The reality was it's hard to say, but it's the truth. I was afraid. I knew what it was like to be in the darkness. I knew that space. I knew that zone, and I could play it well. And I was scared of what was life like on the other side. What does it mean to take smart risks and fail and be okay with that? What does it mean to take a smart risk and succeed and be okay with that? Those things scared the hell out of me. And when I realized that I needed to change what was in me, my perspective, the way I viewed things, that was the empowerment. That was the fuel. That was the fire that kicked off what's actually going to become different in my life. And that helped me to see all the things around me that actually needed to change. The people that weren't healthy for me, that I knew I needed to cut ties with. The behaviors that I did personally, my personal behaviors, not even, damning behaviors or hurting, just habits I got into. The way my default thoughts went of being negative and not being positive and not filling myself with positive affirmations and things like that. So I think the changes that need to happen from my perspective really have to begin with ourselves. And then once we can do that, it literally is like the world around us illuminates and we can see what's healthy and what's not healthy.
And I think, I love Craig's process and how he went through all of that and was able to make the changes from within to begin. For me, I know as someone who's really sensitive to food, that even if I am doing great and I go and eat a pastry, that I'll be okay. But if in a few hours I eat a second pastry, I will hate the world and the world will hate me. Like, I am so sensitive to certain foods that it causes a chemical reaction in my body to become very angry, to become on edge, to see every situation as negative. And I say pastry because we had recorded a series of episodes for our TV show, Good Chats. Mm-hmm. And I had gone to this organic bakery and had bought like $50 worth of pastries to celebrate after the show. And I always eat clean beforehand. Like I don't eat any sugar or any foods that are like high inflammation foods leading up like for a week before I give a talk or I do a show. And but afterward, I celebrate by having a pastry. And so the show ended, it's late at night. I have a pastry and it did not have any effect on me. And so I was like, sweet. The next day, I ate a second one. And my husband called me and he's like, all right, hey, I saw your text message. It looks like everything went really well last night. Tell me about it. How did the show go? And I was like, nope, can't talk about it. And he's like, what do you mean you can't talk about it? Like, what? Talk to me. What's going on? And I was like, nope. Because anything I say right now will be horrible. And I know the show went great, but I can't tell you that because I hate the world and the world hates me. And I can't even talk to you right now because I'm so angry. I'm hanging up, right? But it took me years of going through different situations to realize how impactful food is on me. And so I would say for people who are constantly angry, like I see people out in public and I'm like, ooh, that person's eating something that doesn't agree with them, right? But we typically think if food doesn't agree with us, we're going to feel it in our stomach. We're going to get a stomach ache. Some people have become aware that they'll get a headache or that they'll get jaw pain. But I don't think a lot of people are really aware and in tune with how food impacts our emotions and our mental stability, our ability to focus and concentrate and think clearly. So I would say if you're having symptoms of not being able to focus, not being able to just enjoy simple things, look at what you're eating. Like that would be one thing I would encourage people to really consider. Also looking at, what is your physical activity? And I'm not saying you have to run or do a hardcore workout, find something you love and enjoy doing, but do it every day. I always say you got to get your sweat on for at least 15 minutes. Right? Like just because sweating, it actually helps detox your body. So whatever you are bringing in, if you are eating foods that your body doesn't agree with, or even your body trying to process difficult interactions with another human being, one of the ways we can detox those emotions and kind of release them from our body is through physical activity.
I love that. So powerful. Well said. I love that. We have never thought of it that way. I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I'm so glad that you have the organization that you have to help folks, not only where they are, but to help them to get to where they want to go to. Take a moment, if you would. And for folks that want to connect with you, we're doing something a little out of sync, but this is a very, very important conversation. I want to spend more time on it because it's not one of the ones you can just gloss over. Take a moment and share with us, how can folks connect with you? If they're listening right now, and as you're watching out there right now, maybe you're thinking, oh, wow, Shane, not for me, but you know someone. Or you're thinking, you know what, I think the person's going through this. I don't want to say anything, but you can share a website with them. You can share contact information, which she's going to share with you in a moment, how you can connect with her. And it's just the right message at the right time. So take a moment, if you would, and tell us what website, where should they go to if they want to connect with you. And I realize that you're in another part of the country for some, but you work with folks all over the country. Is that correct?
Yeah, even internationally.
Even internationally? Okay. So they don't, I guess they couldn't come in your house. They couldn't come to your office now anyway with social distancing. So that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I just had a doctor's appointment, it's a physical online. It's kind of crazy, but it does work. So how can they connect with you?
Yeah, so if they want to go to growingoutofdarkness.org, that is our website.
So what's the website again?
Growingoutofdarkness.org.
Okay, so why don't we all just open up the website? First, let's make sure the website works. Sometimes these websites don't work. Nothing personal, they don't work. So everyone open up a browser right now. She's going to say it a little bit slower. So go to where? www.what?
Growing out of darkness.org.
Going out of darkness.org. Okay, she's checking to make sure it works. She's nervous herself. Don't worry about it. She's nervous herself. But don't worry. Okay, so we have it here. Here is the website. Okay, so you have questions on here as well. Oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
Is that you in the middle? Yeah.
That's me.
Looks like that's you there. Okay. Now there's a lot going on this website. First of all, what is this hashtag fight for your life? Hold on. Hashtag
fight for life you love.
Yeah. Take a moment and tell us about that.
So that hashtag became really important to me a year ago. I think it's something I've always believed in, but didn't fully articulate until January of 2019. And I'm going to share this story because one, I've been given permission, and two, because my daughter shares it. It's really her story. But she's now 16 years old, and she has struggled with anxiety and panic attacks for most of her life. And a few years ago, she sustained a concussion, which made everything far worse. And in January of 2019, she attempted suicide. And the day after she attempted, I sat down with her and I said, you know what I realized is that my greatest fear isn't that you're going to die. I would be sad and I would miss you, but I also know that there's incredible people waiting for us on the other side, and you would be well taken care of. My greatest fear is that you are going to live a life that you hate, right? That you are going to seek out drugs and alcohol, and that you're just going to be self-medicating. And I learned a long time ago that making decisions based on fear never ends well, and yet that's all I've been doing. Scared that she was going to hurt herself, scared that she was going to reject me, scared that she would reject all the ideas that I was coming up with. And I was allowing that fear to impact how I was interacting with her. And I just said, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm no longer going to act on fear. I'm no longer going to simply fight to keep you alive. I'm going to fight for you to live a life you love. And it really stuck with me, and it stuck with, what we're trying to achieve with Growing Out of Darkness. It's not just to keep people alive. I mean, there's no point in just stopping a suicide from happening, stopping it in a moment of crisis if we're not actually addressing, why was this person in this situation in the first place? And what can we do so that we're focused on them living a life that they actually want to live, that they want to be alive, they want to be here.
Wow. Powerful. Thanks so much for sharing. Thanks for being authentic as you were saying that. I was thinking to myself, it takes a lot to be able to express that and share that. So thank you so much. It means a lot. For those folks that are watching and they're on the website now and they're thinking to themselves, powerful story. How can they reach out to you? How can they connect? Let's say they're on the site now.
Yeah.
Where would you
suggest?
So
probably the you've pointed out to me that I need to fix this on the site, but probably the easiest way is if they click on programs.
Okay, so we're clicking on programs now. So
Yep.
we're on the programs page, or it should be coming up.
Yep.
Mine's going to probably run a little slow here, but it'll pop up. Okay.
So if you're there, then it'll, once you're able to, you can scroll down, but there's an email address, so you can email us.
Oh, is this it here? admin@growingoutofdarkness.org.
Correct.
Okay.
And then also a cell phone number right there.
Oh, I got a phone number here. Oh, got you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
All right, so just click on programs. And you can go right here, and you can connect with you right now. Look, this has been an incredible conversation. Here's what I would like to do. For those folks that are listening, one, I'm suggesting you connect immediately with Jenny and with Craig. Go to the website. There's an email there, and there's a phone number. I'm sure everything is confidential. I'm sure I don't have to say that. I'm sure everything is confidential. So you get an opportunity to share and speak to someone who can help now and who have the resources
Well, I
to help.
should say, so I want to be really clear. Craig and myself, we are advocates for helping people understand mental health and for helping people achieve a life they love. We do not do one-on-one counseling. That is something that neither one of us are certified in or practice. And part of the reason I want to say that is for our own well-being. We have had people that reach out to us, and obviously, and it's difficult because this is a difficult topic. But we have to take care of ourselves as well. And so there is a lot of information on the website, resources that people can go and look at. And for sure, if they are looking for someone to come in and do a presentation and help their community to learn more about mental health, to learn more about wellness, that's really where Craig and I, that's our specialty, is coming in and helping communities really deepen their relationships within the community to create, not just to save one life, but to save as many lives as we can within that community.
So well said. Thanks for sharing that. And you do that virtually. And when the time is right, you also go out to locations as well. Is that correct?
Wouldn't that be great if just tomorrow? I know. So Craig and I actually, we just joined forces officially a couple months ago, and within 3 weeks of us agreeing to do these events together, we had 3 events lined up very quickly. And so, it's been frustrating. This whole COVID-19 is kind of getting in our way. But I do want to say that while we don't do one-on-one counseling, Growing Out of Darkness, one of our objectives is that for anyone who has experienced a loss, losing someone to suicide, is that we do donate copies of Growing Through Grief. So I've got one handy. You'll see this on the website too, but this is Growing Through Grief.
Cool.
And, people sometimes give me a hard time about donating books and how you shouldn't donate the book. And the thing is, this was never intended. Like when I first started writing Growing Through Grief, it wasn't intended to be a book that I was going to sell. It was actually a friend of mine had reached out to me. It was about 15 years after I'd lost my dad. And she knew my story. She knew my journey. And she'd reached out to me and let me know that she had 2 friends who had each lost a loved one to suicide within that week. And she wanted to know if I'd be willing to write them a letter of hope, letting them know that healing was possible. And about 3 weeks later, I called her and I said, okay, I haven't forgotten you. I'm working on it. It's just, I don't know where to stop. And so I sent her what I had worked on so far. And she called me back and she said, don't stop. You have a message that needs to be heard. Just keep writing. And actually the letter I ultimately sent her is the last chapter in the book. It's called The Lessons I Learned. And, but it took me about 3 years of being a full-time mom, also having a job, moving, and just kind of writing really more. I think I always thought that it was more so that my kids would always know my story. They would always know who my dad was to me, and they would understand how he died and the impact that had, and why it's so important to me that we have a better understanding of mental health. But a few years ago, it became clear that this really was meant to be a book and it needed to be published. And as soon as I realized that, I started Growing Out of Darkness, because I knew that I was never going to feel comfortable profiting off of people's pain. And so Growing Through Grief is a book that I would best describe. It's meant to be a gift. It's a gift that is to support those who feel alone, who feel isolated, and who are hurting. And no one should ever have to pay to feel supported by someone when they're going through that. And so we donate these to anyone who requests them. They can make that request through the website or through email. But we last year, we don't market this. I don't do any marketing. It's just through word of mouth. But last year we donated almost 1,000 books.
Wow. Wow, that's really special. Thanks for all you're doing, for the difference that you're making in the world. Nobody's doing that, and that's huge. That's huge, and as you guys can all hear, it comes from the heart, a place to serve, and a heart to give, and a heart to do so much.
And thank you, Shay. And I will say too, not everyone has, as you mentioned earlier, not everyone has necessarily been impacted by this, and not everyone has lost a loved one to suicide, but maybe you are going through something difficult. Maybe you have experienced a trauma, or you lost someone to cancer or to a heart attack, or I've been told by many people I should change the title of my book, because this book can be applied to any trauma. So whether you lost someone to suicide or not, if you are experiencing a difficult time and you're having trouble moving forward in a healthy way, then send me an email or go to the website and request a book, and we will get a copy out to you.
Wow, thanks so much. Love you saying that. Well, here's what I like to do. I know you guys have spent so much time. I appreciate that. I want to do a deep dive, which we've had an opportunity to do during this time. Take a moment, if you would. And, first, let me say thank you both to you, Jenny, and to you, Craig. And let's also acknowledge Eric Swanson, what happened to Warrior, who kind of connected us. Jenny connected you and I on Facebook. Take a moment, if you would, to talk about not only Eric Swanson and the good that he's doing by connecting and bringing resources together to support what's happening in the world today, and to have more meaning in the world, to have more impact and make a difference. But he also has something called Habitude Warrior. And for those folks that are out there, you can all go over to habitudewarrior.com and learn more about it. But take a minute and talk about Eric Swanson and Habitude Warrior.
Yeah, I think, first of all, Eric Swanson, I know you're watching this because you'd never miss anything that I'm in, and definitely not miss anything that Shay is in. But you haven't met Craig, so Eric Swanson, meet Craig Miller. But I want to say thank you to Eric. He is a master connector, and so I appreciate this connection. And I want to say, a lot of the reason I am where I am today is because of Eric. And between Eric and my sister, who introduced me to Eric, they both pushed me. They pushed me out of my comfort zone. When I first started Growing Out of Darkness, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew I didn't want to profit off this book. And going to the Habitude Warrior conferences really gave me a lot of excitement and information and contacts that shifted so much of my thought process and how to move forward. And one of the things that I really love about the Habitude Warrior conferences, they were 3 days. I think some of them are now sometimes 2 days, but it's an instant family. Like between the people who attend the events and the people who are speaking at the event and organizing the event, by the end of the event, you feel like you've become part of this family and you really don't want to leave it. And I think it's really unique in that way, that just that environment becomes so close. And I'm incredibly grateful that I've been able to be a part of it for the last few years.
Thanks a lot, Shanna. I appreciate that. So with that being said, thanks a lot, Eric Swanson. We appreciate you. Thank Jenny and thank Craig for being here and sharing this much needed message, especially for where we are right now. And they are available, she did mention, to come out to your location, but also to do it virtually. I mean, through the power of these fiber optic lines right now, they can speak to organizations, to companies, to groups, to communities, to retreats, inside of Zoom meetings and outside of Zoom meetings, all type of ways that they can make this very, very effective. So I suggest you all reach out to them. Make sure you head over to growingoutofdarkness.org/programs. You click on the programs button, or there's an email right there on the website. You can reach directly out to them. I would like for you to have your closing comments. Maybe each of you to share a few words as we get ready to close out and finish this particular episode, to folks that are watching right now, maybe to encourage or inspire them, or just whatever's on your heart. I'll go to you first, Craig, and then Jenny, will let you have the closing comments. So over to you first, Craig.
I was thinking a lot about, prior to the show, of things we want to talk about and how we wanted to address things. And I was thinking about success, the word success, the term success. And for me, I kind of was like going through this thought process of, what does success mean to me, and what can I contribute to entrepreneurs and other people starting businesses or having a dream and really wanting to live that dream. I realized in this that I never actually aimed for success. I never bothered to define it, which is like probably rule number one of what you're supposed to do, because I always looked at it as a term that today, in our culture anyways, defines it as is associated with finances and having financial stability enough to maintain a certain lifestyle, right? And that is not what I ever aimed for. That's a nice benefit, and I'm not going to dismiss it or anything. And of course, that's in me, but in a healthy, appropriate way. What I always aimed for was not success, but fulfillment. I never thought, this is what I want to be, and this is what I want to do, and this is what I want my financial life to feel like. I always just thought, no, I want to be fulfilled in every single aspect of my being. I want to know that I loved as strongly as I'm capable of loving, that I've experienced human emotion to the bottom of the ocean and found my way back up again, that I took opportunities that made sense and even some that didn't, and I made the best of every single opportunity that came my way, that every single person I met, as Jenny mentioned earlier, in that 5-minute conversation from a stranger could be the one message you need to help change your life or give you what you need to motivate you to the next step. And you make that connection. Fulfillment is what I always aimed for, and I kept that visual very, very strong in my mind, very strong. I never laid out steps in what I thought of my life as a whole. I never laid out steps in a business sense. I always just thought, no, this is where I want to be. This is the image I want. This is how I want to feel when I get there. And I kept that as my focus. And then I kind of navigated my way along the path that I took, which I know is kind of like probably a lot of people out there listening, entrepreneurs, are like, whoa, no, you have to have a specific plan. I did, but that wasn't what was critical to me. What was critical is keeping that vision and pulling that energy towards me and letting my life become what I wanted it to become, and knowing that I inside, regardless of how it went and regardless of the turns that I have no idea are coming or I was going to take and where it would lead me, those aren't my choices. Those aren't the things I can control. I'm going to go where life takes me, but I'm going to get to the destination I want to get to, and that's what I've held on to. And I don't feel like I've achieved success, and I hope I never do, because I think at that point I would lose my motivation and I would lose the real genuine purpose of why I do what I do and why I speak to so many people about life and living and suicide prevention and mental wellness and everything like that. I just, if I ever turn the corner where profit became my priority, I don't think I would be successful, right? I think for me, it's fulfillment. That's key.
Thanks a lot for sharing. Mm-hmm. Jenny, your final thoughts. And again, thank you as well for being on this episode. Yeah. Thank you for sharing authentically, both you and Craig.
Yeah, thank you again for having us, Shay. It's been fun being on here talking with you. I think there's two things that stand out. One, I want to build on what Craig was saying is, I think sometimes we do actually get stuck on what we think is successful or what like kind of materialistic thing we need to be focused on achieving. And I'm not saying that those things they don't matter. It's just that I wouldn't be where I am today if I wasn't more focused on listening to that whisper. And I wouldn't have the people in my life I have today without that whisper. And I think sometimes it's easy to not hear the whisper because of all of our fear and our panic. That's like, if you have something that's screaming in your head, that is not your intuition. That is fear. That is panic. But if you can find a way to quiet that, whether it's through meditation or Tai Chi or another form of mindfulness exercises, even just going for a walk, and if you can get to where you hear that whisper that's leading you in the direction that's going to ultimately help you to be your best self, listen to that whisper. Act when that whisper is nudging you, whether it's to call someone or whether it's to walk up to a stranger in an airport.
Oh, we froze up.
I think she.
That was telling me.
There you go. Good. We're back.
So
You're there. You said whether you're walking in the airport, then you froze for a second there.
Oh, yes, I wouldn't, I don't know. Oh, I was saying that I wouldn't have the relationship with Crag that I have today if it hadn't been for that whisper. And, and just the moment that I saw him in a hallway, we didn't even meet. But I just knew. I knew because this little voice inside of me told me that this is someone I was supposed to know. And the second piece I'd say is, as I mentioned earlier, I grew up a very grumpy, negative, pessimistic, down and out kid who was often very shy, very quiet, and would, when I would go into a new space, I had to take my time to find my rhythm. And actually, it was at a Habitude Warrior conference where my sister set me up to get there and have to just be on my best. And she did it because she said, "Hey, Jenny, by the way, I told Eric Swanson and his entire dream team that you are perky and fun and outgoing and that you're adventurous." And she made this whole list of all these incredible qualities that I think do reside in me, but they tend to come out slowly and when I feel safe. And so she's like, "So they're expecting that person to show up when you get there." And I was like, "Okay. Got it." And then she goes, "Oh, and by the way, I know you're getting in at like 8:00 in the morning. I'm not going to get in until 2:30. And so I was going to have to meet all these people completely on my own without her, without the support. And but I did it. And what was really cool about that experience was I realized I did have a choice. And moving forward, even though it actually does scare me to meet people, it terrifies me to go on podcasts and TV shows. And here I am. I have a TV show. I do podcasts. I do all these things because I have a choice. I have a choice to show up as the person I want to be, not the person who I grew up thinking I was. And so I want everyone to take that in and think about, who do you want to be? Now show up as that person.
I love that. Show up as that person. With that being said, you need to show up because success starts with you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating. Thank all of you who have been there, and thank all of you who are sharing this message forward. It's very important. With that being said, for those folks that are tuned in, by the way, my name, by the way, is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. And I promise you from the bottom of my heart, we'll make some good things happen. We connect again next time. Remember, time is long. Life is so short. Live in the moment and make it count. With that being said, make it a great day, everyone. Thanks a lot, Craig. And thanks, Jenny. Looking forward to connecting with y'all again soon. Y'all rock. We're out of here.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Promise I made to my mom. I only did this message for one person, and that's my mom. This is for you, Mom. Love you. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur. Make it a great day, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Shay Brown.
Mic check, mic check.
All I do is win, no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
Yes. Yeah.
And they stay there.